is so important about nonverbal communication? Have you ever been given the death stare by your mother? If so, she was giving you a nonverbal cue that you better watch your step. The purpose of this speech is to give you information that can help you in better communication skills in your relationships through nonverbal communication. According to a Virginia Tech professor, Rick Peterson, he said effective communication is an important characteristic of strong, healthy families. Research identifies communication as an essential building block of strong marital, parent-child, and sibling relationships. I would take it a step further and say that communication is an essential building block to any relationship. What we say is as important as in the way we encourage and strengthen our relationships to those around us. More importantly, what we say is how we say it. Relationships with others will not survive if you do not communicate, but we must be aware of not only what we say, but what we are saying without words. If I were to tell you that I like your outfit, but have a snarl on my face when I'm saying it, what would you believe? Would you believe the look on my face, or would you believe my words? Nonverbal cues speak louder than words most of the time. In the textbook, Understanding Human Communication, nonverbal communication accounts for over 90% of the communication that we share with others. According to this statistic, nonverbal communication is more important than the words that we say. There are some key ways that nonverbal cues are communicated to others. The first is our tone. Have you ever been reprimanded by your parent or your boss, and the tone which was used let you know that you were in more trouble than they were saying? Or how about when someone calls your name? Do you know if the person calling for you is agitated with you or thrilled to see you and in the way they say your name? This is tone. Another key nonverbal cue is gestures. Do you know anyone that talks with their hands? These are gestures that can communicate different things without any verbal communication. For example, if you are on the interstate and you happen to cut off the guy in front of you, what kind of gestures might be used to let you know that you are not one of his or her favorite motorists? Another example of gestures is, say you're in a crowded room and someone walks in that you know. What is a gesture that you can give them? A friendly wave to beckon them over? Or saying, "Come here," so that you can speak to them face to face. One of my favorite forms of nonverbal communication is looks. There are so many things that can be communicated by just a look. For example, at the beginning of the speech, I intimated about a mother's look. You know what your mother is saying by the look that she gives you, whether it's pleasure or maybe pain, your pain. I also have a friend who I can look at her and know what she is thinking, and she can know what I'm thinking by one single look. Looks can have more weight if you're familiar with the person to whom you give the look. I can do the same thing with my husband. I can look at him and he knows what I'm thinking. Or with my children. They know what is meant when I give them that look. That they had better straighten up or it was not going to be pleasant for them. I can also give a look to someone in need that says, "I see you, I care." Looks and gestures can generate emotions from each end of the spectrum. All of this without ever saying a word. All of these examples show the importance of nonverbal communication in our everyday relationships. Because people tend to take and make judgments on first impressions, we need to be careful, not just what we say, but how we say it. And make sure that our actions match the words that we say. As Christians, if we are to be effective ministers of the gospel, we should be careful with what we say, but also how we say it. We should share the gospel with a tone that intimates that we love the person and not just that they need to hear what we have to say. Our facial expressions, gestures, and actions can cause trust or mistrust. We want to foster relationships with others so that others can see Jesus in us. If we say with our words that we love others, then our actions, our gestures, our looks, and other nonverbal cues should line up with what we've said. People will see the genuineness of our words in the way that we say them. We are to reflect the character of Jesus in all that we say and all that we do. Our actions speak louder than the words that we say. I am reminded of a quote attributed to St. Francis of Assisi that said, "Preach the gospel at all times, and if necessary, use words." This was saying that our actions and what we do mean more than the words that we say, that we can present the gospel by the way that we treat others, by our nonverbal cues, by the way that we show love, by the way that we look at others that say, "I see you and I care." Nonverbal communication is important. So important that it is most of our communication. We must be diligent to understand nonverbal communication in our relationships with others so that others will know what we mean when we say it. In other words, be careful, little eyes, what you say.